Why is it that Iran is suddenly doing something to Israel that has never been done before? It's beating up on them. We have this assumption of great pride that Israel can never falter. And I think the problem is that people are way too focused on the wrong thing. They assume that the reason why Israel is never going to get destroyed is because it has this mighty army, this will, this strength. But really what it comes down to is faith, belief, prayer, things that are related to God. And unfortunately, in more recent times, something very interesting has happened. While Israel might have a powerful army, it's lost some of its way, in my opinion. For example, when the army first started, there was a famous cry called Acharai, which means after me. The generals, the colonels would always lead the way. Now they sit back in a war room and they guide people. People are less motivated by the spiritual purpose of the land and more by just like a continuity that I guess happens once, the country starts aging and it's not new anymore. But the important thing to consider is that it's possible that Iran has stolen Israel's most powerful weapon, prayer. I once heard a story, a couple of stories, but the one that comes to mind, once heard a story that there was an army that had an incredible weapon, but they weren't using it. And the other army heard about the weapon and they went in, they snuck in, they took it, they brought it back, they used it, and they destroyed the first army with their own weapon. What's that weapon? Prayer. When you have an army and a people, whether they're good or bad, I'm not going to get into the politics, but when you get into a situation where one army prays a lot and in their mind, however radical or not they are, they believe that they're doing the will of God. And then you have another army that is losing that level that they used to have. You have a problem. I mean, Passover is coming up in a couple of days, and I once heard that there was a guard who was having a sandwich in a prison for Palestinian detainees, and the prisoner started laughing at the guard, and he goes in Hebrew to the guard, he goes, "That's why we're gonna win and you're gonna lose." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "That's the funny part, you don't even know what I'm talking about. You're eating bread on Passover." That's what the Palestinian said to the Jewish guard, and he didn't even know. We have so many unorthodox, irreligious people in Israel. That's not my problem. Live and let live. I would never judge somebody for not being orthodox. Unfortunately, though, there's a bigger problem, and that is, where is God in the picture? How many times do you hear Bibi Netanyahu speaking about the might and the power of Israel and America? How often do we speak about God? How often do these countries, these great countries of America and Israel, bring God into the picture? Donald Trump used to mention God all the time. I heard him speaking a few times. I heard him mention it once in the last couple of weeks. We got to remember, that's what happens when people get fired up and war starts. People's egos start strengthening their confidence in the wrong thing. And my personal opinion is that there's a lot of trouble on the horizon. People think that Israel and America have this under control. Iran is calling the shots. They're pulling them into a war that they don't even see. With all the intelligence they have, they don't realize what's going on around them. This is how the Nazis lost World War II. They destroyed and they made such wreckage that the enemy was better at combat warfare in the environment that they created. God forbid, I'm not saying the Americans are Nazis, but I'm saying, think about it. Wealthier, fancier outfits coming to a less wealthy country and just destroying stuff. And now if they put boots on the ground, who's going to be better in that kind of environment? But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that we got to go back to the basics. And I mean the basics. God's world. Who is God going to favor when there's conflict? And the only way to answer that And the only way to win that is by relying wholeheartedly on God. And I think we have a problem. Sorry.